Rare does an excellent job adding content to Sea of Thieves. How many live service games do you see coming out with as big updates as this in their 5th year into development? And it's not just the case of adding new maps or new heroes, but story missions, activities, and other improvements. With that being said, some content has stood the test of time through relative simplicity, but others need to be updated so they're not phased out by new content. A good example of the former is Ships of Fortune. It arguably is a really small change, but introduced an evergreen system that is still being utilised today. This wasn't really a new voyage or tall tale either, so it never really became old. We have seen Rare try to revitalise old content, and they've done it with mixed results. If you want the lowdown, go watch this video in the corner. If I'm being honest, I gush about how Shrouded Spoils was a really great quality of life update, and we're long overdue a second part. Rare tends to have a cycle of the middle updates of the year being the most interesting ones, like Cursed Sails and Forsaken Shores in 2018, Anniversary in 2019, Ships of Fortune to Ash and Wind in 2020, and then Season 3 and 4 in 2021. There's this period over Christmas that really fucks up the flow, where we get smaller updates like Festival of Giving, and Season 5. With Season 9 slated to be new social options for crews, it seems like we have another Season 5 on our hands. I hope it's not pointless additions to the game that haven't got any longevity. As Sea of Thieves will be supported for years to come, I think our December season should focus on updates to old content. What I mean by this is meaningful changes that refresh old content for new and veteran players alike. How many of you completed Tall Tales and never touched them again? Or don't bother with old voyages because they have crap payouts compared to the newer iterations? Who even bothers with Skeleton Forts anymore? And don't get me started on the shrines either. I hate seeing effort being put into new updates, but they're one and done sort of things. In terms of Skeleton Forts, why not give them a refresh? Personally, I would jack up the loot you can find in them, and that would make it much more profitable. Rare did buff the loot in Shrouded Spoils, then slightly again in Legends of the Sea, but it's remained untouched since. I would also like to see the map and story changes affect how Skeleton Forts are made up. In the lore, they're meant to be tributes to Flameheart, so let him take a vested interest in this. Instead of skeletons every wave, we get Reaper Phantoms show up instead, with the loot swapped out for damned loot. We even see this unused chest in a title screen. We could use this. Instead of having the cannons on the island manned, make it so you have to defeat some Reaper ghost ships before you can move on to the fort. The systems are pretty much in place from ghost fleets, so bring this into the world. Whack on some commendations and some ghost sailor items, and you've rehashed some old content with less effort, and it's even more interesting. Hell, let's do it to the Fort of the Damned too, and Fort of Fortune. The Fort of Fortune lost its appeal very quickly, so change it up again by adding phantoms and ocean crawlers to it and amp the loot further. I think Fort of the Damned could also benefit from Phantoms of Fate, where you fight phantoms that have to be weakened by the different flames of fate, although people do fight over the Fort of the Damned still due to its legendary status. The Fort of Fortunes often remain uncontested nowadays, so be honest, when was the last time you dropped everything to go to a Fort of Fortune? Voyages, at least some of them, need redressing too. There's no real incentive to do them over their 2020 counterparts, as they give out a pitiful amount of loot. These would be a really simple change too. Gold hoarders can have dense maps with islands close together to encourage gold being stacked. Increase the chances of a cursed chest being part of your quest, and offer the chance of vault keys even. Again, this will be a great way to introduce a gold hoarder set to encourage players to revisit these new changes. Order of Souls will be pretty much the same, except phantoms could be added to the mix, where you have to tussle with Flameheart's phantoms with the chance of Skulls of the Damned. Adding Skeleton Lords too would be a nice change. It'd be a great way to up the challenge, with the Duchess, Mutinous Helmsman, and Two-Faced Scoundrel skulls being dropped as high value loot. Much like the Gold Hoarders, add an Order of Souls clothing set to earn from this, and have some commendations for turning in their skulls. Merchant Alliance is in a pretty decent spot as it has the most voyage types, but animals are a bit of a pain. I would love to see new animals added to transport which have different needs and are more valuable. They can die like any other animals, but are rare spawns and can be easily stolen by other players. Animals are a bit tedious, so I'd suggest a large sum of gold for getting these luxury animals and merchant clothing for engaging with this stuff. Athena Voyages would need to be updated too. The older Voyages and Thieves Haven runs are now obsolete due to Legend of the Veil. Legend of the Veil is just shorter, more fun, and much more rewarding. With the original Athena Voyages, I would change the voyage to include just Athena loot where applicable. I would also make the cargo runs reward Athena rep to incentivize you to actually do them, and then at the end, reward you with 3 chests of legends. You can get roughly the same number of veils done in that time, so I think it's a fair change. As Captaincy is rolling round, this would be a fantastic time to drop the White Ghost set, with matching ship and captain's cosmetics. The same can be said for all 4 of these companies. Reaper's Bones is a funny one, as I think we're getting the Reaper's Hideout expanded as part of an upcoming season based on the in-game hints and roadmap. If it isn't an entirely new faction, we need a Reaper cosmetic dump and some PvP focused commendations, such as to sell stolen loot, defeat unique ships and players to prevent people from cheesing them through camping or alliance servers. And on a side note, if the Skeleton Curse is a Reaper costume, I would go absolute apeshit. Fair warning. Moving away from factions, sort of, I would be elated if the Sunken Kingdom got an update. Season 4 was a fantastic season, we got lore, we got new dungeons, and we got some nice commendations and cosmetics. What stopped it from being the best season was a lack of repeatability. The risk of diving below to a complete linear dungeon far outweighed the reward. What I want to see is a mermaid faction that only accepts sunken loot, to actually get players to go down there again. Captain Blubber and I agreed that the coral bottle should have a chance to spawn up to 3 Breath of the Seas, just to make that sweeter. I would go even further and get the coral bottles to be consumable. They're meant to be potions that turn people into mer, so let's have it do that. You drink it and next time you hit the water, you get increased swim speed, no aggro from water creatures, and can breathe underwater. Depending on the bottle, you get 1, 2 or 3 uses and the effect wears off when you touch land or grab a ship's ladder. I would certainly return to the Sunken Kingdom for this alone. Throw in some Sunken Sorrow clothing items and you're onto a winner, just with some relatively small balance changes. The Sunken Kingdom is arguably some of the best PvE content we have, and it just lies dormant at the bottom of the sea. I was enthralled by this update and would love to see it updated again. I feel Rare is at the crossroads with this sort of thing though. Do they bring out their new content and incentivize people to play it by making it more rewarding, or do they make it more balanced to old content and it's not as exciting? I think periodic refreshers make a good balance. That way everyone can appreciate old content again. The last thing I would like to see is Recolors of Tall Tale cosmetics added, where a completion unlocks a recolor of one of the currently available ones. It would be a small change just to incentivize a refresh of the story, especially for those more tedious tall tales. And that just about does it for my hypothetical Shrouded Spoils 2. What content do you want to see refreshed? Please let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel out. This Sunday we have the next update retrospective and we have some lore this time next week. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.